Hello, my dear curious and studious students of surgery. Myself, Dr. Mahesh Chaudhary. I am warm welcoming you in my surgery lecture series. This surgery lecture series contains entire surgery with anesthesia, with radiology, with orthopedic. So stay tuned with us. Let's start our surgery lecture series. Welcome my dear students in my surgery lecture number 109, that is the mouth. In this lecture we will explore the stomatitis, traumatic stomatitis, aphthous stomatitis, monilial stomatitis, recurrent aphthous ulceration, Vincenta angina, angular stomatitis, cyst in the mouth, that is the mucous retention cyst, ranula, tumors of the cheek, fibroepithelial polyp and lipoma. All these points are covered in this lecture. Now start with me. The mouth. First we start with the stomatitis. Stomatitis is a general term used to describe any kind of inflammation of the lining of the mouth. Such inflammation may affect the surface of the tongue also. Causes: such inflammation of the mouth may be caused by injury, mechanically, chemically, thermally, by radiotherapy, idiopathic and malnutrition. Dear students, here is a good image showing the stomatitis of the mouth. Now first is a traumatic stomatitis. Traumatic stomatitis is commonly caused by vigorous use of hard toothbrush, fitting dentures, jack teeth, simple cut or burn of the mouth. Simple cut or burn of the mouth usually heals by itself. Traumatic stomatitis is soon covered by a thin grey glistening coagulum. As the mouth is painful, movement are obviously restricted. Salivation is increased. The tongue is coated with fur. Now the treatment of the traumatic stomatitis are frequently washing of the mouth with saline or thymol. A few drops of Dettol may be instilled in a glass of warm water and rinsing the mouth with such water is quite effective in controlling the stomatitis. Now the aphthous stomatitis. This condition is usually associated with generalized debilitating disease. Clinical features: though there may be the recurrent solitary aphthous ulcer, yet multiple ulcers are more common. In the beginning, on the inside of the mouth, one can see small vesicles with hyperemic base. Such vesicles are painful and tender. These vesicles break and form small white circular deep ulcers. These ulcers are also very painful. Now the treatment of the aphthous stomatitis are: a swab should be taken from the ulcer and it is sent for the culture and sensitivity test. If pathogenic organisms are discovered, proper antibiotics should be started. Otherwise, maintenance of oral hygiene is the most important step in the treatment of this aphthous stomatitis. Mouth should be kept clean and it should be rinsed thrice with diluted Dettol water or a Listerine water solution. Dear student, here is a good picture of aphthous stomatitis which clears your concept regarding traumatic stomatitis and aphthous stomatitis. Now the monilial stomatitis, that is the thrush. Such type of the stomatitis is seen in infants within the first few weeks of life. In people suffering from the debilitating disease as a complication of the prolonged antibiotic therapy which changes the balance of the bacterial flora in the alimentary canal. And the next type of the stomatitis is the diabetic. In the diabetic patient, this condition mostly occurs due to the fungus known as a Candida albicans. Clinical features of this monilial stomatitis are: this disease starts as spots on the buccal mucosa membrane. These spots are small red patches which appear on the buccal mucosa and the tongue. These turn white as white exudate composed of discombobulated epithelial cells as entangled in the myelium. Second clinical features is the mouth is painful and there is excessive salivation. Third is sometimes swallowing is also painful if the infection has spread into the pharynx. Now the treatment of this monilial stomatitis are: the mouth should be kept clean by the use of the glycerin and or thymol applied on the swab stick. Nystatin is the specific antibiotic against the fungus and this should be used immediately. Particular care should be taken to keep the utensils clean which the patient use. Now next is the recurrent aphthous ulceration. This is mainly seen in adult. The ulcers are usually seen on the inner side of the lip and cheeks and on the undersurface of the tongue. These ulcers recur in different parts of the mouth. There is a familial predisposition, but this lesion is not contagious. Women are more oftenly affected. These ulcers are very painful and there is excessive salivation. These ulcers heal by themselves within a fortnight. Treatment: a culture should be taken from the lesion and appropriate antibiotics should be used if pathogens are detected. Oral hygiene is very important. Now Vincent's angina. The synonyms of this condition is the ulcerative stomatitis and acute ulcerative gingivitis. The causative organism, that is the Borrelia vincenti, is an aerobic spirochete. This is responsible to cause this lesion. This spirochete can be seen in wet smear by dark ground illumination. Another organism called bifida, a gram-negative rod with pointed end, is also seen in this condition. In these lesions, both these organisms may be found in normal mouse, but are particularly found in large numbers in association with this disease. Whether these are the cause of this disease or secondly invades is yet to be answered. Now the clinical features of this Vincent's angina, that is the early adult individuals are more oftenly involved. It is rarely seen after the age of the 35 years. Acute condition starts with prodromal symptoms, that is the malaise, pyrexia and increased salivation. After about a couple of days of such prodromal symptoms, patient complains of dull toothache and gum bleeding. Dear students, here is a good image showing the Vincent's angina, that is the ulcerative stomatitis, is clearly seen in this image. Now on the examination, bad smell is almost invariable associated with this disease. Excessive salivation is also common. Gums are swollen and red, particularly between the incisions and around the third molars. The affected areas of the gum are red and inflamed. Small ulcers can be seen on the gum, which are covered with yellowish slough or membrane. This condition is extremely painful. If the membrane is peeled away, the gum bleeds and the small ulcers are revealed. If the condition remains untreated, such lesions spread to the cheeks, palate, fauces and even to the pharynx. Tongue is rarely affected. When the fauces are involved, the condition must be differentiated from diphtheria and secondary syphilis. The regional lymph nodes become enlarged and tender. Now the treatment. Penicillin is the drug of choice and should be given parenterally. The membrane should be sopped away with plaggets of cotton wool soaked with hydrogen peroxide. Mouth should be kept clean by repeated mouth washes. When acute attack has subsided, proper dental treatment is required for caries tooth or disease of the periodontal tissues. Now the next point of this lecture is the angular stomatitis, that is the cheilosis perleche. As the name suggests, cracks or superficial ulceration at the corner of the mouth is known as the angular stomatitis. This condition must be differentiated from congenital and tertiary syphilis. Causes behind this angular stomatitis are in children who rub or lick the corners of the mouth oftenly suffer from this disease. Oral closure is the commonest cause of the angular stomatitis in older patients. When the oral mucosa is atrophied or there is a tendency to seborrheic dermatitis, this condition may appear. Dribbling of saliva through the corners of the mouth often cause this condition. Such cracks may be infected by the Candida albicans and Streptococcus. Dear students, here is a good picture on your screen showing the angular stomatitis, clear-cut picture of the angular stomatitis. Now the clinical features of the angular stomatitis are inflamed red-brown features at the corner of the mouth are the common presentation if oftenly appears in children of school-going age. Gradually, fissures turn into the scar. Differential diagnosis of this condition may be with the most important is syphilis, either congenital or of secondary stage or of the tertiary stage. Now the treatment of this angular stomatitis are improvement of the general hygiene. One can apply mercurochrome or gentian violet at the cracks. Vitamin supplementation, particularly vitamin B complex, vitamin C and oral iron preparation are important. Now the next point is the cyst in the mouth. The following types of the cyst may be found in the mouth, that is the mucous retention cyst may be found in the mouth, ranula and sublingual dermoid. First, the mucous retention cyst. Such retention cyst may occur anywhere on the mucous surface of the mouth. The inner surface of the lip and the whole of the inside of the mouth contain many small mucous secreting glands. Causes obstruction of the duct of one of these glands which give rise to the mucous retention cyst. Dear students, here is a good picture of the mucous retention cyst of the mouth in the inner lip, lower lip is clearly seen in this image. Now the clinical features of this condition. Age. These cysts can occur at any age. And symptoms. The main complaint is a small lump on the inner side of the lip or cheek. It is a painless swelling and grows slowly. The swelling may interfere with eating and may get bitten in the process of eating. Now the examination of the cyst. This type of the cyst is more common on the lower lip and on the inside of the cheek at the level of the bite of the teeth. The color of the cyst is usually pale pink of that of overlying epithelium. The content look grey, glary appearances of the mucus. If the overlying epithelium has been damaged by the teeth, it will be white and scarred. Size and shape of this cyst. This cyst is usually spherical and of 0.5 to 2 cm in diameter. Surface is smooth. consistency is either soft or hard depending on the tension of fluid within the cyst. Fluctuation test and transillumination test usually cannot be performed as the cyst is not big enough. Mobility. The cyst can be moved and the overlying mucous membrane is not fixed to the cyst. The local lymph nodes are not enlarged. Now the treatment of the mucous retention cyst. Complete excision of the cyst under local anesthesia is the treatment of choice. If the cyst is big one, general anesthesia may be required and cryosurgery may be tried if possible. Now the next point of this lecture is the ranula. Ranula is a transparent cyst on the floor of the mouth on one side or the other. The term ranula is a Latin word which means the small frog. As the swelling looks like the belly of the frog, Hippocrates gave this name ranula. The cyst is considered to be a mucous retention cyst arising from the glands of the blandine and new situated on the floor of the mouth. It is also considered by a few as dilatation of the duct of the subcutaneous salivary gland. But this theory is not entirely satisfactory. This cyst is usually unilateral. Dear students, here is a good picture on your screen. You are watching the typical case of the ranula. Treatment is a complete excision and partial excision of the marsupialization of this ranula. Now the tumors of the cheek. These are the papilloma. A true papilloma is not very common. It is a soft and fleshy in consistency. It does not turn into the malignancy. Treatment is the papilloma should be totally excised along with an adequate normal margins of the tissue. Now the next point is the fibroepithelial polyp. It occurs from repeated trauma by the teeth, so it is almost always seen on the inner side of the cheek at the level of the bite. It is core of fibrous tissue covered by mucous membrane of the cheek. It is firm in consistency in comparison to the papilloma, which is soft, and treatment is a totally excised with a small margin of the healthy tissues. Now the lipoma in the cheek. This may occur anywhere inside the mouth where there is a fat. Usually it is seen in the cheek. The features are same as the lipoma anywhere in the body. Treatment is excision. Now hemangioma. It rarely occurs in the mucous membrane of the cheek or the floor of the mouth. It may occur in the lip. Recurrent bleeding is the characteristic feature. It is oftenly congenital. Treatment is injection of the boiling water inside the hemangioma, injection of the solution inside the hemangioma. Excision of the hemangioma is the best treatment if possible, and cryosurgery may be tried for this condition. Dear students, here is the end of our surgery lecture number 109, that is the mouth. Thank you.